On this Sunday night, worries of a Thanksgiving COVID spike. The Prairie provinces with surging cases and opposing ideas on restrictions.
Well, human beings and our behavior are always the wild card in this.
While in Alberta, doctors face difficult decisions with pregnant women in the ICU. A supply chain nightmare before Christmas season.
Shipping delays will result in empty shelves.
The holiday and everyday items already in short supply. Culture clash in Quebec.
Businesses at this moment are concerned.
The debate over Quebec's proposed language law divides the province. And a birthday drive-by for a special centenarian.
He was in his late 90s, still doing planks every day.
A Second World War vet says he has a lot to be thankful for this weekend.
Global National with Robin Gill. Reporting tonight, Farah Nasser.
Good evening and happy Thanksgiving to you and your family, and thank you for spending part of it with us tonight. It's a time when many of us gather with family and friends, and with it, like with every other long weekend during the pandemic, comes concern about human behavior. This holiday, could it change Canada's COVID trajectory? And while some places have looser restrictions, experts say indoor gatherings still bring an elevated risk. As Global's Marney Blunt tells us, limits on get-togethers vary from province to province.
1 year ago, it was the calm before the storm in Manitoba. The second wave was still a concern, but COVID-19 cases were relatively low and few restrictions were in place when families gathered for the Thanksgiving holiday. Then the second wave spiked, plunging the province's healthcare system into crisis.
We'd had a 5-fold increase in 4 weeks, and then it just continued to surge from there.
Now, weeks into the fourth wave, the majority of Manitobans are double dosed. But with indoor gatherings, risks remain, especially for the unvaccinated.
Because even with this tool, there is potential for pretty catastrophic situations to occur when you bring groups of people together. The way this virus spreads is not random. It's looking for every target.
A reason why Manitoba has restrictions on unvaccinated groups gathering.
We're in a trajectory right now that could take us to a place where we'll see quite a significant amount of strain on our healthcare system unless we change it.
Cheers. Many other provinces restricting gatherings to fewer than 30 people or strictly to immediate families only. With its hospitals overwhelmed, Alberta implemented emergency restrictions prohibiting gatherings among unvaccinated people altogether.
Please be careful. Please do the right thing. Please don't risk the progress that we've made over the past couple of weeks.
One province over, Saskatchewan is not adding in any more restrictions. Despite grappling with rising cases and the lowest provincial vaccination rate in the country. Whether restrictions will be followed or enforced remains to be seen, especially in areas like southern Manitoba, where vaccine uptake remains low.
Well, human beings and our behavior are always the wild card in this.
Carr also says the more contagious Delta variant and more people delaying getting tested could influence when we see the effects of Thanksgiving gatherings, as more cases are being identified in the emergency department and more people go directly from inpatient to ICU patient. Farah?
Marney Blunt in Winnipeg. Thank you, Marney. And in Alberta ICUs, there's been a sharp increase in the number of unvaccinated pregnant women. Maternity physicians are desperately doing all they can to counter the mixed messages around vaccines. As Jill Croteau reports, compared to the first wave, the number of pregnant women in intensive care has quadrupled.
Childbirth isn't meant to happen in the ICU. Ultrasounds to listen to a baby's beating heart aren't supposed to happen with an expectant mom who is unconscious. But frontline workers say that's happening inside Alberta's hospitals as a growing number of unvaccinated pregnant women are hospitalized for severe COVID-19 symptoms.
We need to make this a real phenomena for people so they'll truly, really think hard about getting the vaccine, even if they're hesitant.
Dr. Stephanie Cooper has launched her own education campaign, compelled to do something after having difficult conversations with her pregnant patients.
You're getting sicker. They're talking about the ICU. If you go down to the ICU and they do end up putting you on a ventilator, you'll be asleep. While you're asleep, it may be such that we have to go ahead and deliver the baby. But when you wake up, your baby may be delivered and you may not be able to see your baby. And having that discussion with a person who's gasping for breath and it's just awful, and they are terrified.
There have been 16 pregnant women in the past couple of months admitted to the ICU. Some of their physicians say they have had to make tough choices for mom and baby. This past August, 5 babies were born preterm.
Did I make the right decision? Delivering a baby prematurely, recognizing the complications of prematurity that can occur, but realizing that I've delivered that baby because the intensive care unit managements have got to the end of their possible management, and this is like the last resort.
This new mom was admitted to hospital with complications from COVID-19 after giving birth to her son Bobby.
It was a tough decision because being pregnant, I didn't know, I just thought I made it this long. I thought I could make it all the way through my pregnancy. Plan was to potentially get vaccinated afterwards. I do wish I was vaccinated.
The hope is, in time, that sense of joy of bringing new life into the world can be restored. Jill Croteau, Global News.
Despite the spike of pregnant patients in ICUs, Alberta Health Services is allowing people infected with COVID-19 into the maternity ward as an essential or designated support person. AHS says exemptions have been given since July of 2021 and are granted under exceptional circumstances. Those support persons who are symptomatic or under isolation after testing positive must follow protocols while wearing a mask and remaining 2 meters from everyone except the patient and newborn. In a series of tweets, AHS says, "We know the importance of having support at this time. This is a critical part of our approach to patient-centered care." While our minds are on Thanksgiving, retailers are already concerned about the upcoming holiday season. Now, if you've been shopping in stores or online lately, you might have noticed that everyday items, they are becoming harder to find and the costs are soaring. The reason? Log jams at ports on both U.S. coasts and too few workers to get the goods to the store. Jennifer Johnson has more.
A backlog out at sea. Over 60 container ships carrying millions of consumer goods wait to unload at the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach, California. The ships extend 64 kilometers out to sea, but there's a shortage of workers at the docks and not enough truck drivers to deliver the goods to stores.
While the consumer may be willing to go and spend more money, right now the issue that's rising is there actually a product out there for them to go purchase? It is more difficult to get what you want.
Even everyday products are in short supply. Across the U.S., Costco has limited how much toilet paper, bottled water, and cleaning supplies you can buy because of the port delays. Halloween is already turning into a nightmare for retailers. COVID-19 stopped most parties last year. This year, it's supply chain issues haunting them.
We're still waiting on about 25 or 30% of the merchandise to come in that we've previously ordered, and some of it probably won't even ever come in before the holiday.
Christmas is not looking too jolly either. Many toys, clothing, appliances, electronics, new cars, and now even artificial trees are getting harder to find. Most artificial trees come from Asia, where manufacturing slowed to a trickle during the pandemic. Now companies can't keep up with the demand.
Buy your Christmas trees now before Thanksgiving, because otherwise the shelves will be bare and there'll be lots of out of stocks.
Retail Canada says stores are reporting the situation seems to be getting worse as the year goes on, resulting in much higher prices for consumers. Skyrocketing shipping costs are adding to the problem. Big retailers are now chartering their own much more expensive cargo ships, but that's not an option for others.
A lot of these smaller publishers and stores are holding inventory in China, trying to wait out the freight to see if it gets cheaper. And I don't think this is going away for at least 2 years.
The Canadian Toy Association says inventory problems may force some businesses to cancel pre-holiday sales like Black Friday. Experts say consumers need to be strategic this season, buy early, and have second and third choices in mind. Jennifer Johnson, Global News, Washington.
Taiwan's president has promised to protect the island territory's democracy and sovereignty in the face of increasing aggression from China. Tsai Ing-wen made the comments at a ceremony marking Taiwan's national holiday, where there was a rare display of military might. Tsai vowed to bolster defenses, though she said the territory would not act rashly and would not bow to pressure. The Chinese government denounced her words as inciting confrontation. On Saturday, Chinese President Xi Jinping said he would seek a peaceful reunification with the territory that's home to 23 million people. Beijing regards Taiwan as a breakaway province and has made international efforts to isolate the territory. In recent days, China has sent an unprecedented number of military jets into Taiwan's defense zone. And the lights are back on in Lebanon after a 24-hour nationwide blackout Saturday. Fuel shortages caused the country's two biggest power stations to shut down. Electricity only came back after the military supplied enough fuel to bring the grid back online. It was feared the country could be in the dark for days. Much of Lebanon already endures daily rolling blackouts because of the country's aging electrical system. Residents who can afford to rely on generators to power their homes, which has also proved to be a challenge due to the high price of fuel and the lack of supply. The country has been in the grips of an economic crisis for the past 18 months. The value of its currency has plunged 90%. It's estimated half of Lebanon is now living in poverty. In Russia, high-flying hopes met a tragic end after a plane carrying a group of parachute jumpers crashed. 16 people were killed in the incident. 6 others were injured. The aircraft apparently tried to land after its left engine failed shortly after takeoff, but overturned when it struck a vehicle. The Aero Club, which owns the plane, is now under criminal investigation on suspected safety violations. A stream of scorching magma in Spain. The volcanic eruption in the Canary Islands shows no sign of stopping. And backlash over Bill 96, why critics say Quebec's language law overhaul is bad for business and unfair to English speakers. In Quebec, hearings into the province's new language law, Bill 96, have wrapped. For weeks, dozens of presentations have been made over what the Legault government says is an effort to defend the French language in the province. But as Tim Sargent reports, many minority groups and Montreal businesses are still worried about the law's repercussions on English.
Le Québec est francophone.
The French language minister started the hearings on September 23rd with a preamble on the importance of strengthening French in Quebec. Since then, 39 different presentations were made over a 9-day period, many defending the majority language, but also trying to make sure English rights and institutions are protected.
We would like the bill to be withdrawn.
Many Anglophone groups fear the bill will weaken their language rights, including services in healthcare, the courts, and it could erode access to education at English CEGEPs.
So many different items in there that affects the English-speaking Quebecers and their rights to access to services.
Bill 96 is a 100-page document introduced by the minister responsible for the French language. The intent is to upgrade Bill 101, declare French as the official language of Quebec, recognize the nation of Quebec as part of its identity. 200 amendments make up the bill.
Il y a une pénurie de main-d'œuvre à Montréal.
Montreal's business community has reservations about the bill. Michel Leblanc says there's a critical labor shortage, and he doesn't want companies constrained with a new language law where employers would have to justify hiring a bilingual person to fill a position.
Businesses at this moment are concerned. They're a bit scared of what it would imply.
Protecting English is a major concern in rural parts of Quebec as well, like the eastern townships. People living and working here feel especially vulnerable.
If you were sitting in the seat of an Anglophone, especially in a rural context, you feel very, very much targeted.
Defenders of the English language just hope significant modifications can be made to the bill before it becomes law so that this minority language in Quebec can be protected for generations to come. Tim Sargent, Global News, Montreal.
The gruesome murder of a Nova Scotia Sikh. Still ahead, the fears it was motivated by hate.
You're watching Global National.
It just keeps going. 3 weeks later, the volcano is still erupting on La Palma in Spain's Canary Islands. Officials warn they don't expect it to end anytime soon. On Saturday, part of the volcanic cone collapsed, sending more rivers of lava flowing. Though it hasn't prompted new evacuations, lava has destroyed over 1,100 buildings on the island and displaced about 6,000 people. The murder of a young Sikh man in Nova Scotia last month continues to send shockwaves through the Indian-Canadian community there. The killing happened in the town of Prairie, northeast of Halifax. Police have provided few details about what led to the attacks, leaving some Sikhs fearing the killing was motivated by hate. Ross Lord reports.
Prabhjot Singh Khatri's father died when he was just 6 months old. He grew up determined to help support his single mother, working 2 jobs in Truro, Nova Scotia in a fast food restaurant and as a taxi driver after coming to Canada from India in 2017.
He was just very happy and working hard to send money to his mom in India so she can have a comfortable life.
Which makes what happened to Prabhjot Singh all the more shocking. In the early morning hours of September 5th, as he left his friend's apartment, he was attacked.
Somebody stabbed him and he ran upstairs. He had enough energy to run upstairs, but then he fell and he died inside the apartment.
Friends say he wasn't robbed. There was no obvious motive, leading many Sikhs to wonder if his killing was a hate crime. Data shows more Sikhs have moved to Canadian towns in addition to big cities. Leaders in the Sikh community say newcomers are sometimes vulnerable to hostility and violence.
There's a lot of suspicion that what drove this murder was intolerance and racism.
In a statement, the High Commission of India said, "We urge the Canadian government to ensure the safety of all Indian nationals, especially the Indian students in Canada, from racially motivated crimes." The High Commission advised all Indian citizens in Canada, particularly students, to exercise caution. More than a month after the murder, no one has been charged, although officials in Truro promised to pursue every lead.
The public was concerned about a hate, and that, and again, there's no indication at this point that that is the situation, but those are being followed through.
Until they get answers from police, Sikhs in Nova Scotia are living in fear, especially young men, some of whom have told us they're afraid to appear on camera.
They don't know what to make of this murder, whether they're safe. Many of them are afraid to go out.
It gave a very bad impression about Nova Scotia internationally, in India, especially where Sikhs live. So we explained that this was just one incident.
Police questioned and released a man they call a person of interest. Sources close to their investigation say they're currently waiting for the results of forensic testing before making their next move. An online fundraiser collected almost $100,000 in donations, helping return Prabhjot to his mother in India, where his body has been cremated. Ross Lord, Global News, Truro, Nova Scotia.
Over a century on and still going strong. Next, a Canadian veteran enjoys a life well lived. As Canadians gather around the dinner table to give thanks this weekend, an Ontario family is celebrating a life well lived. Sunday marks the 102nd birthday of a man who defied the odds and gave back to his country. Morgan Campbell explains.
As family, friends, and wartime reenactors make their way past Graham Clapp's Oshawa home, it is easy to see he has a lot to be grateful for this Thanksgiving.
Happy birthday to you. One beer at a time, when you get a certain age, you don't know when you're going to get to the next number of life.
Looking dapper with a fresh new haircut, the World War II veteran is celebrating his 102nd birthday. And after speaking to his family, it is easy to see why so many people have gathered for him. He has a kind soul, he is warm, and loves a good laugh.
He was in his late 90s still doing planks every day. So he is not about to give up anytime soon. He still walks. He gave up driving about a year ago, and he has a lot of support from the families and from his neighbors on his street.
At 102, Clapp still enjoys the comforts of his own home with a live-in caregiver. And he only gave up his driver's license last year. Born in South Wales, the retired sergeant immigrated to Canada 95 years ago in 1926 and later served as a radio operator at stops across Europe in the Canadian Army during the Second World War. He joined the 1st Special Service Force in 1942, nicknamed the Devil's Brigade by the Germans, after 99 days of continuous action. Serving alongside a mixture of Canadians and Americans, Clapp was one of 3,600 men who fought in Italy and France. Today, he is one of only 30 remaining men who wore the red spearhead of the FSSF still alive.
It's important to remember and not to forget, and appreciate the freedom, the liberty, the privileges, everything we have today as a result of the courage that these veterans have made on behalf of not just us, in Canada, but the world.
The parade is a small token of the gratitude people have for a man who inspires others to work hard, do what's right, and give back.
He's just remarkable, and he just sets the bar really high for the rest of us to keep on trucking, keep on going.
And at 102 years old, Clapp is showing no signs of slowing down.
We all live simple lives.
Morgan Campbell, Global News.
Thankful to Graham Clapp and other veterans like him and those on this new front line against COVID-19 during this second pandemic Thanksgiving. I'm Farah Nasser. On behalf of our Global News family, we are so grateful to you and your family for not only giving us your time, but also trusting us to bring you the news every night. Tonight's Your Canada is a Chinook arch in Calgary skies on a gorgeous autumn day. We'd love to see your corner of Canada, so please keep sending your photos to viewers@globalnational.com. Until tomorrow, take care of yourselves and each other. Happy Thanksgiving.